What's going on, everybody? Brian here from Brian's Broadcast. I hope all of you are doing fantastic. Now, a word of caution before I even proceed with this review. If you are not a fan of leather, tobacco, combined, or individual, I highly recommend you stay away from this fragrance. But if you are a fan of either one or both, stick around because you are in for a ride with Zaharoff's brand new release in 2023. It's called Leather Tabac. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. We all gotta fit that YouTube algorithm, right? So stick around, guys. So this fragrance was released in February 2023. Work has been in progress, and if you have been following George Zaharoff, or TLTG Reviews Ross Carlos, you may have seen every once in a while before the release was done when they were testing the fragrance, the presentation and everything. So people were in the know. And this has been developing like for quite some time, I believe. And the perfumer of course over here is Claude Dir. And what Zaharoff George did was he did not build up on the OG Tabac. He instructed and worked with Claude Dir, I believe, and then completely redesigned this fragrance so that it does not become a flanker of Tabac, from Tabac to Leather Tabac. So guys, first off, the presentation. The pluck over here in the front, it's an actual piece of leather, not pleather, not some foul leather, not some like artificial one, right? So it's actual leather, and on the sides and over here you can see the printing. It's pretty much, it has a texture, like it's kind of like embossed. And over here you can see the hides, of course the leather pieces, and the tobacco leaf. And on the of course the name of the fragrance. On the sides you see tobacco leaf and then the leather, and on the back you see George is doing his work with the leather and the tobacco leaves hanging dry, and then he's putting everything of juices in the drum for maceration. As a standard practice, of course, inside there's the chrome or metallic piece of paper. I mean, it's paper, but it's shiny. So this thing beautifully, like makes the color of this juice shine. Let me show you the bottle quickly. Look at this bottle. Of course, the standard Zaharoff bottle, but of course, there are people who are new to this game, who are new to the house of Zaharoff, maybe planning to get one. This is for you. This entire piece is leather. Again, real leather. So on the back, you have some lion and a leather piece of leather, a logo, and then the tobacco leaf. And on the side you get the tobacco leaf and the leather. It's beautifully done. And look at the color of this juice. I mean, absolutely stunning. I mean, just the bottle, the presentation will, if you're a fan of those things, if you pay attention to details and stuff like that, this thing has already won your heart 100%. The cap over here, as you can see, the Z logo, it stands out. It's not the usual paint. It's not like a seal over there. So basically what you can see is you see it's kind of like white or maybe very light gray, so it stands out. It really stands out. Again, those of you who are new, Zaharoff caps, you don't pull it, you just twist it, it comes right off. So don't fight the bottle. Let me read out the notes from the website. So on the top you get rosemary, sage, black pepper, star anise, and plum. On the mids you get birch tar, cumin seeds, rose otto, myrrh, tobacco. And on the base you get suede accord, leather accord, honey, oud from China, and praline and frankincense. Now guys, like I said, if you're not a fan of tobacco, leather combined or individually, stay away from this fragrance. But if you're a fan, like I said, stick around. This was one of those few Zaharoff releases where I kind of felt on day one, hour zero, I sprayed the thing on my forearm and I really wanted to write to George, this was crap. Absolute crap. But I was wrong. Why was I wrong? Because, again, most likely the bottle that I got was from one of those batches that needed a tad bit more time to macerate. And what happened was, like, this bottle, when I sprayed it, the first 2 sprays and then 2 more I did a bit later, had a bigger concentration of alcohol. Again, this is 22%, I believe. Let me check. Yep, 22% EDP. It's pretty much potent. I would say it's very potent, although being 22% EDP. But the alcohol kind of maybe ruined my first experience. So, to the point that I really wanted to write to George, like, this is a very bad release. But the first experience was very obnoxious. The leather and everything that came out, it was very nauseating for me. Like, I barely experienced those things, but it was bad. It was bad. It was that bad that I'm telling you this in my video on my Facebook posts. If you have followed me there, yes, I said all that thing. George was concerned. He reached out to me, Brian, what did you experience? And this is exactly what I said. Like, George, there was something obnoxious. I felt very nauseous and it was not right. But I tried this fragrance 2 or 3 days later. That's when I realized I was wrong. My first initial experience went bad, probably most likely because of the high concentration of alcohol that came out in the first initial spray. 2 to 3 days later, this thing got a tad bit of air inside, of course, because you sprayed. It macerated. That's when it shined. Guys, the next 2 to 3 days later when I sprayed this fragrance, this was absolute nirvana for me. So the leather, it just pops up right away. And this is one of those leather where, like, you get that plum, because the plum over here kind of gives you, it has that, like, doesn't start out fruity. It has that, like, kind of like a bit sourish kind of feel. And the pepperiness from the black pepper kind of make this fragrance, like, very dark, leathery. And the leather over here, like you see, like Swede and the leather accord, like, these are 2 different things. Swede is something that's like supple, soft, luxurious leather, and leather in general would be that harsh, like something from the tannery itself. Now, if you have ever experienced the smell of actual leather, just the leather itself, you will know what I'm talking about. It's very sharp, it's kind of like chemically, but over here nothing feels artificial or like chemical or medicinal kind of feel. You don't get that. Let me assure you on that part. So the opening is very dark, and the rosemary and sage kind of I think has that herbaceous feel vibe, so that you don't get that, like, a little bit of refreshingness. Besides this dark, brooding and opulent opening, this fragrance slowly starts to dry down around 2 to 3 hours mark, where the leather totally changes. Now, the opening is a bit sour, tad bit fresh, huge dose of leather, and a bit of sour kind of plum. Drying down 2 to 3 hours or 4-hour mark, the fragrance totally changes. It becomes very smoky, and you actually feel the fragrance transforming. Leather and the smokiness. Now, the smokiness is 100% coming from the birch tar over here. It's very smoky, not that sharp smoke, but you get that smoky feel. The leather, very masculine, and like I said, it's a very dark and brooding kind of fragrance. Very gentlemanly. Of course, you don't want to wear it on a hot day. 100% not. Anybody who's gonna suggest me, hey, you can wear whenever the hell you want. Again, I'm trying to avoid a few words here because YouTube put out that notification, no profanity. So trying to, keep myself sober from all those words. But you don't ruin your experiences with certain things. Leather Tabac is something you would really want to enjoy on cold winter days, or maybe late fall if you, depending on where you are located, but you need the cold air to be present in order to experience and enjoy this fragrance. It's a leather jacket season fragrance. Done, right? Well, I don't have a leather jacket, so just putting on my black t-shirt. But here it is. The smokiness slowly, like it's pretty smooth. The leather over here, that sourness, that sharpness from black pepper is gone. You get that smooth leather, and then the smokiness along with the myrrh and tobacco is something that comes into play at this point. So the tobacco over here, it's that dry, like a nice, like a wet kind of leathery tobacco feel you get. So over here at this point, you're not getting any more of your dryness. So you kind of get that like I don't know how to explain this in words, but you know, like if the leather's wet, like it's been wet for a while, and then the tobacco has a dryness, and then there's this smokiness, the kind of feeling you'll get. It's something very nice, enjoyable, but it's not like something you may have experienced before. Now, drying down further, like around 6 to 7 hour mark, that's when the fragrance totally again transforms. Now the plum kind of becomes that fruity and tad bit sweetness. I think the sweetness is coming from the honey and the praline over here, and these are like supporting notes. That's what I felt. It's not like upfront, like you get praline, like not a caramelly kind of praline, or you know, like sweet, like absolutely diabetic sweetness. It's not like that, but you get that consistency, you get that fruitiness from the plum. That sour plum slowly transforms into like a fruity, tad bit sweet, and a consistent kind of plum. And the supporting note of oud with the leather, again, because the oud over here, it's kind of like gives you like an earthy kind of leatheriness at this point. But the thing is, like with the plum and the earthy leather kind of feel, now the leather over here, it becomes an undertone at this point. It's not one of the bigger major player. The major player in the dry down is, in my opinion, plum, which makes this fragrance even more interesting, because you might be thinking you get the suede accord, you get the leather accord in the base, but Brian, you just said you got it in the opening. Yes, I did. But in the dry down, the leather, I firmly believe, and I don't know, maybe George could explain better, but again, this is my personal opinion. I feel more of that suede coming through, and that's the reason why the plum and the suede mixes with this oud and gives you this wonderful, wonderful feeling. Potency on this fragrance is there, right there. Now, I have experienced Mega Mare, which is a whole different level of potency, but Leather Tabac is 100% your beast mode fragrance. Cuts through the winter chill like anything, winter chill, and then those windy days, super cold windy days, it will cut through. So usually I always do like 4 to 5 sprays, which is more than enough for me to go through an entire day and more. Typically, I mean, even if it's past 12 hours, this fragrance, the beautiful plum and the suede, just lives through. It's a very nice feeling. So do not be fooled that this is a dark and brooding and opulent fragrance, but that's in the opening. As it's drying down, there's this beautiful fruity plum that plays, and then the smokiness is totally gone. And like I said, that it's in the mids only. So the wet leather and dry tobacco kind of feel, smoky tobacco with the birch tar, that's in the mids. As this dries down, like the whole fragrance, the whole game changes. If you will remember, I reviewed Brivido della Caccia from Argos Fragrance as a beautiful, phenomenal leather dominant fragrance. And now I have another favorite besides this one. It's the Leather Tabac. Of course, there are so many fragrance choices out there. I know I highly respect people who love those, but please, my humble request for anybody, like if you don't like a certain fragrance, just keep it to yourself. You know, like you don't have to go out and spread the hate. We are all here for the fragrance, not the hate. If you understand what I'm talking about. If you want to fight, by all means, go ahead, fight. No one's stopping you. But this was my 2 cents for Leather Tabac from the house of Zaharoff. Absolutely love this fragrance now, but it was just the first day I totally messed up. I mean, it messed me up, right? So let me know in the comment section whether you have this fragrance, what was your opinion, what's your experiences. So until the next video, guys, please take care, stay safe, and thank you for being a fantastic audience. Please take care.